A top U.S. counterterrorism official is warning that al-Qaeda extremists are seeking new ways to attack the U.S. And now that we have learned about these new concerns, where do we go from here? What needs to be done to keep all of us safe here in the U.S.? Joining us live from New York this morning, Republican Congressman Peter King, also a ranking member on the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, good morning.
Good to see you, Jamie.
I want to ask you first about this news. One counterterrorism official, and not alone, saying that al-Qaeda is refining its methods and planning other attacks. What do we know? What kind of intel are we getting, and are we getting it on both sides of the aisle?
Now, first of all, that report came from Michael Ida, who is head of the NCTC, the National Counterterrorism Center, who I've always found to be a real straight shooter. And I think what he's saying is accurate, that al-Qaeda is refining. In some ways, we've taken a lot of al-Qaeda people out, but on the other hand, they're consolidating and they're refining their tactics. And we have to be very, very careful. We have to be on our guard. And I know that John Brennan, for instance, I think is sending a mixed signal when, as Caroline said, he's ordering the embassy closed in Yemen. At the same time, he says we're going to continue to send terrorist detainees from Guantanamo back to Yemen. As far as whether we're safe as a nation, listen, we're never going to be 100% safe. And my concern with this administration is that they are not putting enough emphasis on it. For instance, with all the money going into stimulus, all the money that's gone into so many other programs, how much is going to be available for them to use on Homeland Security? Just here in New York, we had a $40 million cut in transit security for anti-terrorism. We also had the administration try to knock out $40 million for radiation detectors at our bridges and tunnels. So I'm just wondering, I'm not doubting the president's commitment, but I am wondering if whether or not they're putting too much emphasis on other issues and not going to have the funding available. And also, are they sending a signal to the to others in the administration that this is not quite the issue that the president thinks it should be? For instance, John Brennan said today that even though the father in Nigeria came in and turned in his own son, that wasn't enough to send off warning signals. That, to me, was Janet Napolitano Part 2. They haven't learned their lesson.
Let me ask you about the fact that it seems like al-Qaeda is very focused on the airlines, and I have my own speculation on why that might be. If that plot had taken place, it would have been over U.S. soil. It would have been very devastating because of the number of people on board. It would have been a very visual portrayal of what al-Qaeda is capable of. We saw it on 9/11, too. But what about the railways, as you mentioned? What about buses? What about crowded shopping malls? Are we doing enough to keep Americans safe there? What does the president need to do to assure all of us that the right methods are being utilized and put into place? Because there isn't an infinite amount of money, and some of our money, it's going to places like Yemen for counterterrorism measures.
Well, actually, Jamie, believe it or not, the airlines are probably the easiest to secure, because much fewer people take them than take mass transit, for instance. And also, it's a lot easier to control the entrances and the exits. But as far as mass transit, you have Amtrak all the way, going along the eastern seaboard. That's very, very difficult to secure. In New York City alone, our subway system, there's 1,000 entrances and exits. There's no way we can police all of them. But we do need more Homeland Security funding for the areas that really need it, not to be wasting it on cities and locales around the country that are never going to be attacked or very likely not be attacked. We have to decide where the most likely targets are. But as far as Yemen, I support what the president's doing in Yemen, because by going after them in Yemen, that makes it harder for them to get here. Also, we can get intelligence out of them if we can capture terrorists in Yemen. But again, that's where I differ with the administration, because Abdul Muttalab, he was put into the criminal justice system. He was not put into a military tribunal, which means we cannot get the information out of him that we would have. The only real way to be secure is through intelligence. But having said that, in addition to that, we need training, we need technology, we need equipment, and I don't believe that the local police departments in this country are getting enough of the assistance that they need from the federal government.
Congressman Peter King, we look forward to seeing what happens on Tuesday when the president meets with his security advisors. Will you be there at that meeting?
No, my understanding, Jamie, is this is just for people within the administration. I would hope that the president soon after will reach out in a bipartisan way. But I can tell you from Christmas Day on, there's been pretty much of a iron curtain has come down from the administration as far as providing information to members of Congress. It's not just me. I talked to Pete Hoekstra, who's the ranking Republican on the Intelligence Committee.
Right.
He's telling me he's getting virtually nothing at all.
Well, the information you've brought us today is very useful. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Congressman.
Thank you, Jamie. And that I have to get on my own. But thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you.